All right, so thanks everyone for joining. So this is Software Crafters. We run this meetup once in a while, not exactly in a specific day, but we try every Thursday, every 2 months. And today we're going to talk about CI/CD. Now, before we start, there is something that we do on every event, which is to decide the topic of the next event. So the previous event, we decided CI/CD, how to do it, and which is the event of today. And tomorrow we'll decide the next one. So here we have a few post-its. Got here all the topics that have selected in our GitHub page. We have a github.com/softwarecrafters, and then you go to the issues tab. You will see these topics there, and then we will decide the next one. I'll read them to you. So technical views trade-offs, microservice patterns, Agile, Dojo or event-driven/reactive approaches, when to use a library or framework, domain-driven design, and soft skills. So you can grab this here and put a dot on the ones that you will prefer more, and one more dots is going to win. So yeah, please feel free to do it now, and let's choose the topic for the next event, please. Can I put more dots? You can put as many dots as you want. As long as if you're really strong about something, just do one per poster, not more dots.
If anyone hasn't done.
No, that's right. Yeah. I will do right after this.
Should be everywhere. Anyone else?
It's so important.
Yeah. A lot of crossover in these technical terms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good man. Good to see you.
All right, thank you. So let me see. All right. So the next topic will be domain-driven design. Thank you for that. Whoever didn't do it yet, we've got this self-assessment survey that you can do, and either pick it up here or you can do it there. Basically, we'll self-assess. You self-assess yourself on CI/CD, and then I'm gonna use it to assign each of you into teams, and we're gonna form teams, and there's gonna be a scenario for each team, and then you're gonna solve that scenario, and then you have multiple rooms. Each of those rooms has white paper that you can scribble on, some post-its, and then the scenario as a text in an A4 paper in the table. Okay. Basically, the self-assessment, it uses the Dreyfus model of skill acquisition. Not sure if you've heard about that before. If you haven't heard before, that's a model of skill acquisition that has been tested by the brothers Dreyfus and Dreyfus for many years. Originally, they were contracted by the military in the US to understand how people learn, and they found this pattern across cultures and across industries. And it's about people want to learn any complex skill go from beginner, advanced beginner, to competent, to proficient, to expert. And there's probably more to that, but that's basically what the path that most people go. So in regards to CI/CD, I made an analogy on the self-assessment of what is a beginner, advanced beginner, competent, proficient, etc. And each one of them has a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a beginner is like, I heard about it, never worked with operations. You probably copy paste code from somewhere or follow some blog posts. That will be a beginner in CI/CD. An advanced beginner would be, I've worked with it, but mostly follow recipes. I use online content and Google search to know what should be done. So different from a beginner, that is the advanced beginner. A competent would be, I made decisions on operations before, but I would prefer to have someone more experienced to validate. I usually create custom solutions instead of following recipes, but I follow recipes on parts I don't understand very well. I consult online resources to get ideas only. Now, from competent to get proficient, which in this example is I can make decisions myself. I understand they might be wrong, but it's good to get going. I rarely follow recipes, instead create custom solutions and build recipes myself for other people to follow. I prefer official docs than blog posts, but sometimes look at blog posts to get an idea of tooling available or something. An expert is I've been working with CI/CD on multiple levels of decision making, or being involved in the decision of core architecture of CI/CD for projects. I build code and ideas other people can follow. I might have discovered some novel ideas in CI/CD. I tend to understand very well abstract conversations when I speak those at the same level of expertise. So usually, people in every single skill of software goes through this path, and this is one assessment for the CI/CD only. So not an assessment of your software engineering skills. It's only for CI/CD. So you can be an expert in something else, like a language, but be a beginner saying CI/CD. So has everyone done it? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I'll give now the word to Eric. If you can speak a little bit of Elastic, and I'll do the team.
All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. My name is Eric. I'm part of the Elastic team. Like formalities, if you guys need the facilities, they're just on the other side out there. You know where the lift is. It'll take you down to level 0. If there's a fire, we all just freak out and crowd around the lift, and we'll figure it out. I know Fagner for a bit over a year now. I lead our alliances business here at Elastic. So this is working with the big cloud providers, other ISVs that build with Elastic, a lot of our consultants and sort of MSP type partners. I guess at the risk of, I won't give you guys like a big Elastic pitch, but one thing we did want to do is just make this space available for interested people who are learning, people who are teaching and contributing. Our technology comes from an open source heritage. So first instance of Elastic was basically a distributed version of Lucene. So under the hood, it's a distributed system, really oriented around search. So quite a few of you I know are familiar, but Elastic traditionally has been like the go-to tool when you need to add search capability to an application or a website. But coming from that sort of open source heritage meant people were doing cool things and experimenting with it. Turns out when you dump a bunch of log files into Elastic, it's like super good at finding correlations in it. And so the way our product has evolved and kind of our business alongside that has really followed the way people use the technology. So nowadays we do search, observability is a big market, and increasingly security and cybersecurity. So yeah, it's one of those things that sometimes for people not familiar with Elastic, trying to help them build the bridge between the search bar in Tinder and like betting my entire cyber capability on this thing. But under the hood, once you sort of understand some of the technology concepts, it's actually really intuitive, taking this kind of unique search-based approach to solve more of these modern problems. Anyway, so that's kind of what we do. This office here is mostly kind of a sales and customer service office. So we've got a couple of global functions: core engineering, product management, customer success, support, sales, solution architecture, all sorts of weird and wonderful roles that don't neatly fall into one of those buckets. But anyway, we've got this space. We come from a really developer-centric background. I personally have been working in sort of the open source vendor ecosystem for quite a few years, so we're pretty passionate about it. And speaking with Fagner, and really just we're sort of emerging from lockdown patterns. I know software crafters is sort of in the same boat. So yeah, we were super happy to make the office available for you guys and hopefully get to do 1 or 2 more. Have we been tap dancing for long enough?
That's not good.
Cool. All right. So this isn't a big elastic thing. I'll let you guys get back to the CI/CD exercise. Thanks, Wagner.
All right, cheers. Okay. All right, so actually, I'll get my notebook. I don't have internet.
You got him. All right.
You read all 50 pages?
Yeah. That's funny. All right. My phone is recording, so I will look at it here. All right. So it's 6:43, right on time. So the part one. So what we're gonna do, right? I have grouped your names on teams. We've got 4 teams, and actually got 3. 1, 2, 3. No, actually got four teams. Yeah, and I'm gonna call your names, and then you're gonna send you to each of those rooms. You're gonna have in those rooms the scenario, some post-its to scribble, and use this one to like draw if you have a Sharpie, because not to have the paint on the wall. It's 250 GSM. You can scribble on this one, and some pens and Sharpies, right? Basically, it's gonna be the format for today is gonna be a CI/CD working group. So after you self-assess, you're gonna join this team, which is gonna be a working group, like a community of practice. Like people that kind of share the same knowledge of CI/CD is gonna get together and solve certain problem that a company is facing. And the company, of course, is the scenario that you're going to read on the paper at the table. So we have a scenario, describe the company, the business domain, the issues the company is having, and the outcome required from that working group in regards to CI/CD. The outcome will be a strategy plan to present to executives in order to get approval. So you are a team there. The persona you are representing is the technical lead of your team in the company. There's nobody better than you to attend this first working group meeting on behalf of your team. Your team has varied levels of experience of CI/CD, but you can use your own experience as a summary of the skill set for the team you're representing. So if you're a beginner, that means that your team is a beginner in CI/CD. If you're an expert, that means your team is an expert on CI/CD. You are basically representing them. That's the persona you incorporate on this exercise. At the end of part 1, which is the scenario, each of the teams elect a representative. That representative will present the outcomes of the working group to the rest of the attendants of the event in this area here. The time to present will be defined based on the number of working groups available and based on the time that we have left on the event. So I'll tell you the time when you come here. So you don't know the time you're gonna have to be able to present. So make it quick and have options to probably go longer if necessary. I'll be sitting around here. I'll be sitting here, or I'll be around this area. And you can visit me at any time if you have any questions. I'll be acting as the product owner, CEO, or any other role that might be necessary to answer your questions if you have any. I can only answer one question at a time in a few minutes, and I'll count that in the timer. If questions takes too long to be asked, you might have to leave and you won't get the answer. This limitation is a part of the scenario, as when you don't have a lot of time to talk to the relevant stakeholders to be able to make a decision as a leader engineer. Pretty real life, right? don't have access to everybody all the time. All right. So then after that, each working group will share their own discoveries in a time box presentation slot. If there's time left after every working group has shared their discoveries, we'll discuss the exercise and the outcomes in a fishbowl session at the end of the event, and then I'll explain what a fishbowl is for those who are not familiar, if we have time. All right. So we are recording this. By being here, you consent on being recorded, and yeah. Talk to your friends, invite your colleagues to the next meetup. That's going to be about domain-driven design. I'll still have to figure out what's going to be the format, but if you have an idea, send me an email. And at every event we have a quote, and I'm not sure if you guys saw on the event page, but the quote for this event of CI/CD and continuous integration, continuous delivery is, "It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change." It was a quote by a great programmer, Charles Darwin. Right? All right. So I'll call your names, right, and I'll tell you which team you'll be in, right, and which room you'll be in. So, Lim, Hema, and Dopo, is that right? It's it can be on their own there. Lim team, I don't know. Is it you? What was that? Yeah, is you? Okay, so it's you there. Yeah, and Dipo and Hema, right? Dipo. Okay, so yeah, you go to that room, and then there's a scenario in your table, and you read the scenario, and then you're gonna have time, and then you can come here if you want any questions. You come here. No, don't go there. You come here. So you have to stay. All right. So another team is Alex, Max. Well, this is the sample one. Alex, Max, and Dell. All right. So Alex, Max, and Dell. You can go. Actually, you pick a room. So there's Slipstream, Gateway, and there's this booth and that booth. Pick one that you want to go. All right. All right, and then you got Panan A, J Kim, and Yoon Seok Oh. I don't know if I mentioned correctly. You can pick a room that somebody hasn't gone to. And Mike J, Raihana, and Ore. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, what was that? Honor. Okay. Yep. So you can pick also either. Those rooms are full. You can pick any of those booths. All right. For those who I'm not sure, did everyone go or someone did not? Oh, I have. Oh, okay. Do you want to do it or you can just chat around? Yeah. Okay. So you can do it, and then I can help you and give you a team.
Thank you.
So what? Yeah, feel free to do that. I'll make use of the office for you guys.
Oh, all right. Okay. Cool. So let me see. I want to make sure there's not a lot of ones in one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's about 1, 3. Sorry. 1, 3, and 3. Okay, you can go that one. Each of your team will have 5 minutes, and then you're going to present to the CEO. Okay? Now I'm going to impersonate the CEO. Okay. Oh, guys, thank you for trying this. I really appreciate it. I'm pretty sure that you got a lot of interesting insights, and I want to hear that. Now, I said you're gonna present to executives, but actually, they're on a trip to Alabama, and they couldn't be here today. So this is our board member, Eric and Niels, the two board members that we have. So they own about 70% of the company. They just gonna listen to you because I'm pretty sure you have interesting things. I told really well of you, and I'm pretty sure that they will also understand what you're talking about because they are a little bit more technical than I am, but I'm not at all. So yeah,
Yep. Cool. So I've only got 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. So who wanna go first? You. I'll go. Yeah. So you can go there, and you want a board? Do you need a board?
No, really.
No. Okay.
Don't
So you
need
can have board. You can just bring it over. All right.
As the board member, I only have 5 minutes.
I'm just checking the board member.
Yeah, your time is expensive.
Can I
I've got
just
all
read
the
you a
time.
scenario for a second? All right. So-
Okay.
I'm just gonna read the scenario for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So basically, just for the context of the board members and everybody, this company is called Moon Travel, right? In this case, they are a consultancy, bring the solution to the problem. They are not necessarily each person representing their own team. So Moon Travel is a startup that manages the booking for a number of airlines. The server is a monolith deployed in a cloud environment with everything in it. Infrastructure is managed by the cloud website console, no infrastructure as code, no Terraform, no CloudFormation or anything. There's only 2 engineers who work in pairs all the time. They deploy changes to production 3 to 10 times a day, pretty long range. And there's a downtime of maximum 5 seconds on every deployment. They all know the infrastructure and every piece of code in it. The modules are not very well separated inside this monolith. The company needs to expand to add hotel bookings, and now they need to hire more staff for the new team. How can you prepare the code in the company to hire those new devs? We want to continue the agility of development that exists today, but with multiple teams deploying to multiple times a day, just like what the pair has been doing. But without the 5 seconds downtime, it will exponentially increase as more teams and commits to production increases. And the rest of the paragraphs is the same for everybody. All right, so this is the company. So, why did you discover?
Alright. So we prepared a few milestones which will be followed during the transformation of the company, and we are going to start with introducing the infrastructure as a code approach, which means that instead of clicking all the buttons and wasting time on it, we will have everything in our repository. If there is a disaster, we can recover quickly in a minutes or even hours for the critical part of the infrastructure, where previously it took even days because we have to manually create this. Another point is defining a CI/CD pipeline. So one pipeline to rule them all, which means that the pipeline will rule the deploying, building the package, running tests, and so on. And anything we would like to before manually do as a developer, now I will click the button on the pipeline, and pipeline will do what I would like to do. So we have a consistent way across all environments to manage our changes and have a control over what is done. And also we can apply the security because we will know that only particular users can make changes on production. So we restrict this access.
I'll have access. Yeah. Can I have access?
You should. You can use pipeline to deploy changes if you are allowed.
I own 40% of the company. Can I have access?
You have to. Yeah, you have to ask my manager. Right. The next thing about deployment. So right now we have 5-second downtime deployment, but we have 0 downtime because we are going to introduce a rolling deployment strategy or blue-green deployment, which means that if you would like to have a new version, first we will start new services, we check if they're healthy, and then we will scale to 0 the old version. So 0 downtime deployment. Another thing is introducing a new environment.
Yeah, so currently we are having only a staging and a production environment, and we would like to introduce a pre-production environment, which is follow as closely to the production environment as possible, so that it's easier to reproduce bug and we eliminate service outage. Now, when we look back, because we now have all of these testing capabilities, recovery capabilities, so we feel that it's safer to make bigger change. The big change that we are thinking about is dividing the monolith application into microservices and then assign specific team on each function. The benefit of that is you now have the ability to develop in parallel, and people have more independent in development as well as they have more domain expertise because they are specialized.
Oh, right now we have 2 people only. How do we assign each team to a function?
So because we are going to release a new feature about hotel booking and hire more staff, so then will be a time to because introducing microservice is the very last step when you have all the infrastructure, and then we have to again think about the domains we have and so on. So right now it's not time for talking about dividing it, but that's definitely a thing to keep in mind. That
It's a growing strategy then.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So those are the steps that we left out for the company.
All right. And the pre-prod, you said that there's going to be a pre-prod environment before prod,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And there's staging right now. So staging is not enough. Why is the staging not enough?
Because on the staging we have some services which are mocked and are not because of the cost. So I was told that 1 month ago it was decision to cut off some integration with, for example, Google Maps, because there were a lot of calls which were unnecessary within development. So it would be cheaper to have a pre-prod close to production, and here making only the end-to-end test before the final release. So we will save money, basically. And developers will be allowed to develop features and then make final tests before release.
How do we fix the downtime of 5 seconds?
Because of the deployment strategy, so we can
Blue-green?
Yes. For example, it's cloud environment, so we can use Kubernetes or other tool which will manage the deployment, and the tool can apply particular strategy. Right.
Okay, so 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You want to be next? So what's yours next? That's for you. All right. So this company is called Ads for You. So Ads for You is an online advertising agency that has many customers, each of which requires a dedicated website as a landing page for the call to action to their online ads on Facebook. They don't like WordPress, so they built a platform to generate websites using plain HTML without a server-side component. Today, each team is responsible for the landing page of one client and uses the platform to create their landing pages. Whenever there's a change required in the platform, the team goes there and create pull requests to the platform team and make the changes themselves. It takes ages for the platform team to review the pending pull requests, as sometimes there's 10 clients in parallel requesting improvements to the platform. And then the rest, the CEO wants to investigate, blah, blah, blah.
Thanks. So in the problem statement itself, it's mentioned that it's a static page. So we choose an S3 as a backend to host our web pages. And one of the source control, I take the example of Git, wherein the HTML pages developed by developers will be committed into the Git repo. So once it's committed, the CI/CD server will deploy or push that into the S3 bucket. So we can choose any of the CI/CD, it could be a Jenkins or Bamboo or any other stuff. And in the S3, each of the client will have their own S3 bucket, and it's version. And within the bucket, we can have the folder for production and test environment. So in the initial stage, the HTML files will go to the test environment. Once the testing is signed off, once the branch for the particular code is merged or pushed into the main repository, there will be another trigger which eventually goes into the production bucket. So yeah, that's it.
All right. So in regards to like, there's this platform team that developed the system, and there's a lot of pull requests from the other teams, that platform team. So when you do this change, will you do this change in the platform team, or do this change in each of the teams that use the platform team to build their HTML or their websites, the landing pages?
Whoever owns the landing page development or activity, so they will do the change, and then they'll commit into the source report, into the Git, and the DevOps team will take care of integrating between the GitHub all the way to the S3.
Okay.
When you say platform team, I'm assuming that it's development team.
So there's a platform team,
Yes.
right? That like they have the platform, and which allows for them to design customized landing pages,
Okay.
right? And there's every time there's a change in the feature of that platform, they have to send pull requests to that platform
Yes.
team. So there's a lot of pull requests coming
Yes.
in, and they don't have time to handle all of them, right? So I didn't understand how you propose to fix this amount of pull requests coming in from other teams, and the lack of capacity of that team to be able to process all these pull requests. How would that
So
help that?
when the pull requests are coming, an assumption that they are going to change the code manually in the HTML page, right?
So the pull requests come in, they will change what?
They manually change something in the code, in the source
HTML.
code, in the
the
HTML
source
page.
code with the platform team.
Yes.
So it's the platform code.
So whoever is changing the HTML page, once they commit into the Git, and from there it is automated. Like say like an example is Jenkins server. Jenkins server will poll Git every certain period of time, wherein if there is a change, it will.
Okay. So the assumption was that the platform team owned all the landing pages of our
Yes,
client.
yes.
Okay. So basically, the idea is that maybe it's because the scenario wasn't clear enough. So basically, there's the platform team, which is like a WordPress like system, but it's not a WordPress, like a platform in which you can generate landing pages with standard components,
Yes.
for example, right?
Yes.
And then you get and use that platform to generate your own HTML page in your own team, your own pipeline. The issue here is that the platform system changes all the time, and then there's a lot of pull requests coming in, right?
Yes.
So how would we streamline that in a way that maybe doesn't make sense to have a platform team? Maybe the platform needs to be split. Maybe something along those lines. But I think that the assumption that the HTML files are all owned by the same platform team, and people go there and make the changes, but it's owned by the platform team, all the HTML files, I think that's not clear enough on the scenario. The idea is that they only own the platform, like the means to build the HTML. And then the other team go and pull this, uses a dependency, like a library or framework,
Yes.
and then they build their own application separately. And then this version, every time they update, I think it's a good feedback to me to be able to be a little bit more clear in
Yes.
regards to that, because now it makes sense the assumption you made.
Yes.
But it was a good thing. I assuming that you've got a team that has all the HTML and people go there and change it, then you make that pipeline and then you use
Exactly, because I came up with a solution. We came up with a solution that it's a standard pipeline wherein it takes the generated HTML pages from the source control and then put it all the way to the S3, wherein it will
it creates its own website.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
No, that's in that scenario. It's
Yeah,
I now
because-
understand the solution.
I think we
There's no
missed
right
that.
or wrong, by the way. Right? Just make it clear. Just that I didn't understand because the scenario that I intended is a little bit different than the one you assume, which means that it's fixed for the scenario next time.
Because it's mentioned that multiple clients understand. I felt it's very simple on the model. So
Yeah, but yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Oh, well, thank you very much.
thanks.
Did anybody else got the ads for you? No, just them. Okay, just
Yeah, I think it's somewhere over there.
Yeah, next one. Who's next?
We can do that. We've got moon travel. So
Okay, Moon Travel, another Moon Travel, the competitor of Moon Travel. Okay, so Moon Travel, the competitor of Moon Travel.
I think we're the consultancy firm, not Moon Travel themselves. So just want to say we're cheaper than the other guys.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I'm going to start
But you're
by
the competitor of the other consultants.
exactly, yeah, but we're cheaper. Just keep that in mind.
Cheaper. All right.
Okay, so first of all, congratulations to your amazing success. It sounds like you're growing great, and me and your developers, Bob and Dave, they're doing a fantastic job. We're already seeing the hallmarks of a great development team. These guys are deploying often, they're working in pairs. These are all great practices that your firm needs to keep doing to make sure that quality and that cadence keeps moving. Where I think you're going to start running into trouble, and where we can come in for a small fee and help you out, is that the risk that you've placed on Bob and Dave is enormous. As you grow your engineering organization, Bob and Dave are going to be getting in the way constantly. The practices that you're currently working with, although they work great, and there's 2 of you, when there's 10 of you, there's 20 of you, there's 100, there are going to be enormous risks to your business. So the big one at the moment, I want to ask you, how do you know what is in your production server right now? Do you know?
I asked Dave.
You asked Dave. All right, Dave's on holiday.
Dave's on holiday. I called him on holiday because I gave them.
All right, so that's great. So now,
He's so good. I mean, he's very good, right?
Yeah.
He's your brother, right?
So Bob and Dave are working great together now. They're very coordinated. That coordination cost is going to go up once you have 20 developers. So what we want to start by doing is just taking Bob and Dave out of that equation and automating that deploy. And
No, but you can't take Dave out of it.
Look, put it this way.
I make $10 million with Dave.
Do we need 20 days?
I think we need 20 days. Can you?
We were told exponential growth. We can readjust those numbers again for a fee. We'll sort it out. So imagine the amount of time that Bob and Dave would spend doing these builds if you had 100 developers. How much time do you think Bob and Dave would spend helping customers? How much time do you think Bob and Dave would spend pressing buttons? It'd be a lot more, right? So let's just take that risk out. We can always know.
We hire the people to press buttons, and Bob and Dave do the right thing.
That's one option, but even if you don't take Bob and Dave out, human error is still there. Like someone might accidentally deploy a bug, might deploy over someone else.
No, they
There's a
don't
lot
do
of
bugs.
risk.
They don't do bugs. You don't know Bob and Dave.
So that's one thing. As your team grows, we want to not only be confident about what is in production right now, we want to be confident about what quality it is in. So how much does it cost you per minute if your website is down? How much business do you think you're going to lose?
Oh, yeah.
It's a big number, right?
You can't go down. Yeah, after those 5 seconds. Yeah.
Exactly. So
And there was one customer that in those 5 seconds tried to go to the website, went to support, and then the support said it's on, and he went again and went off, and support said it's on. It happened once only though, but you cannot
Did you go to
happen.
Expedia then? Or?
Expedia.
Yeah.
We got like the only 1 star we had there.
But the point is that downtime and that problems with bugs, they have a real cost to your business. So what we suggest is once we have this thing automated, we begin to evaluate the testing culture within your company, make sure there are strong quality controls, make sure there are strong automated checks that don't involve human people, that you can keep running on a regular basis to make sure that you are extremely confident about what is in that production environment and that it is not going to blow up in your customer's face and destroy your brand as it goes. So that's the next thing.
Are you using any AI for that sort of process?
Blockchain.
Blockchain, okay.
There are a lot of good tools out there. We can certainly explore some AI options, but for now, I think the basics work. Because you're going to have to grow the team. It's going to cost Bob and Dave a lot of time to invest in something like AI at the start.
ChatGPT now is basic too, right?
Everyone keeps telling me AI can do what people can do.
AI can do it better than people.
Yeah, there. See?
AI is definitely
Bob.
Is that Dave?
AI is definitely a great option, but I suggest we just start simple. We minimize the impact on Dave and Bob's current time because they're going to have to be spending a lot of time training people, helping the business grow as they go on. So let's start simple for now, and we can come in later, work for you to explore some more AI-based options. Again, for a fee, but our sales team can sort that out for you.
Not small.
Not small, but worry about that
This is
later.
AI. This is AI.
As long as the return's there, we're happy to pay the money.
Fantastic. We will happily accept your money. Moving on back to that downtime. That downtime sounds like it's really important to you guys at the moment. So we want to explore an option called blue-green deployments. And what this is essentially going to mean is that, you know how the moment when Bob pushes something into production, you've got that brief, just where the business just stops for 5 seconds, right? Expand that out to when you've got 100 developers, you've got a lot of downtime. So we want to put a stop to that as soon as we can. The idea with blue and green, you will have your current system running. So Bob has pushed his changes, version 1. Version 1.1 comes along, it gets ready, it's already up to go, and we do some clever networking switches in the background to just silently move all of your business over to the new version. No one notices it down, no business is lost, and better yet, if there's something wrong with that new version, we can just silently switch it back as well. So the impact on your business, on your customers, minimal. They won't even know it's happened.
You can guarantee no data loss or anything in the background during the switch.
It depends on how we set it up. We can certainly work with you. Usually we're talking about very front of house applications. People won't hopefully be interacting directly with their data. There'll be redundancy in other layers that will not be affected by this mechanism. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, great. And then one of the items we wanted to discuss with you as a longer term option, not a short term fix, is the monolith setup you've got at the moment. So your team has mentioned it's not very modular. We don't advocate that you just completely rip out your architecture on the first go. It's a big job, and you'd be surprised at the number of businesses that run with monoliths for a very long time. So if you've heard of Shopify, they ran a monolith up into millions and millions of users until I think around 2019. So that monolith architecture can get you very far, but what we want to work with you on is that modular part. So my understanding from Bob and Dave at the moment is all the functionality is very overlapping. It's very difficult for them to work without stepping on each other's toes. Now again, extrapolate that out, add 100 more developers, and you can see where the problem arises. If you want to work with your teams to start breaking it down, figuring out the functionalities, creating some domains based around your business, and just making that project a little bit more detached so your developers can keep moving and keep growing and not step on each other's toes. And then once we're happy with that, if you guys want to keep working with us, we'll help you move to a more distributed services where we can add more, let's call it agility, where you can move even quicker, you can have more development teams, and you have a lot more options for your future business.
Awesome. So I lost you hypnotized the investors and the CEO. So thank you very much,
All right.
Mr. Hypnotizer.
I remember we're cheaper than the other guys.
Good work, team. Good work, team. All right. Fourth one. So what's your company again?
Bumblewing Sports.
Yeah. Did I read the Bumblewing Sports? No, not yet. Okay, let me read the Bumblewing Sports. Bumblewing Sports. Bumblewing is a gambling company whose primary objective is to work in the sports space by allowing customers to deposit, withdraw, and bet online. We have a backend teams where we return JSON APIs over HTTP without an API format like JSON API, SARN, collection plus JSON, etc. The front end is separate, a monorepo, where each component reads those JSON structures from certain backends. Each backend API format is different, decided by each separate team that don't talk to each other very often. Each team owns their own infrastructure. Some of them will deploy on Azure, others on GCP, others on AWS, others on-prem using Windows Server 2003. We're having a lot, because we have a license like Lifetime. Anyway, ask Bill. We're having a lot of issues where for every deployment of a new feature, the front-end team has to wait for the backend to deploy to production first. Then after the backend and front-end is finished, that's when we can release to production. When there's a removal of a functionality of the API, the front-end needs to be deployed first and the backend later, removing that functionality. Because removing API functionality or fields don't add much value, the teams tend to not invest the effort of doing that, and therefore there's a lot of load in the front end, which has to support a lot of API fields and bespoke formats that should have been removed from the backend. There's a role called release manager who coordinate all these changes from backend and front end. The release manager would be here, but he's in Miami.
Oh, I heard he was in Bahamas.
No, he went to Bahamas, then Miami. Only when there's a release, he manages it. Otherwise, he goes on. All right. Cool.
So basically, we come up with something called semantic versioning, like a SEMver, to kind of like checking if there are changes in the backend or on the front end, and specify which version of the backend for the front end that the front end needs, and vice versa. specify the version of the back end, the front end, which version of the front end that the back end needs. So every time we make the code changes, we will upgrade or we will bump up the version of the back end or the front end, and the other side will know if we need to build the back end or the front end. So that Semver will kind of like getting rid of the what's called the release manager, because that Semver is kind of like which version you need, and which content of the back end or which content of the front end that you need to integrate with the back end and with the front end.
Right.
And
so you're gonna have a version for the front end and a version for the back end.
yes,
And you're gonna know which version
it
of them,
needs. Yes.
and what's gonna control which version needs what version. How does that work?
It's the release manager.
Oh, so that would be like a system, a service, or something that will do that mapping. Is that right? How does
It's
that
gonna be something like service discovery, like specify the version of which the back end or which the front end needs. The version of
Okay.
it.
Well, we can figure it out later, right? We have more meetings.
Well, yeah. So we don't. We'll have more meetings on it specifically
will.
with each individual team, how they'll manage it. But each backend will have multiple versions that it's running on. So the latest minor version, latest revision, and different major versions. The backend will specify these are the available versions. The front end will say this is the version I want, and it'll pick the highest matching one. In addition to that, we'll deprecate versions based on. So what we'll do, so we're actually doing a lot of stuff that's tangential to the CI/CD itself in order to get the most benefit from setting up CI/CD. So one of the tangential things is setting up Semver. Another tangential thing is we're going to have metrics set up on each individual endpoint to tell us which endpoints are being hit, how often they're being hit, how long they're running, how many failures each one has. This will allow each backend team to handle their own endpoints, their own services, and know which ones need to be deprecated, which ones are no longer in use, which ones they can get rid of, which ones are failing, therefore they need to look at and roll back. And the front end team can just automatically go, well, okay, this one's failing, we'll just roll back to the previous version. So that's the tangential stuff to the CI/CD itself. Then the CI/CD itself will have a CI/CD system with pipelines for each backend service and one for the front end. Well, it'll actually be, okay, so for each service and the front end itself, there'll be multiple pipelines because we want to set up multiple environments for each one. So we want to have, obviously, the production that we currently have. Then we're going to set up a testing environment, which is basically the same as a production one, but customers won't be able to hit it. It'll be for our QA team only to catch any errors before we push to production and give it to our customers. Then there'll be staging, which is basically the level before it. It'll be for the dev team to double check everything before they hand it over to QA. And then we'll have individual dev mini environments for each dev as they're working along. So there'll be pipelines for those. So we're going to have, on pipeline per service, we're going to use red-purple deployment, which is like, it's similar to blue-green, but it's better because red goes faster and purple is magical.
Okay.
War!
All right.
We're going to have rapid and instant recovery because we're going to use the red-purple deployment strategy. And we estimate that as a result of these, the team's workload will be cut roughly in half, we estimate. And in just the first year, we estimate a revenue increase of $5 million because of this. We'll finally be able to get all those shiny, you know that firework feature that you want? We'll be able to put in that firework feature.
Which one?
The firework feature. When someone places a bet and they win, they get fireworks.
Oh.
Yeah. So we'll be able to have that. We'll also be able to look into that common pod.
If we have our FTEs, does that mean we can get rid of Bob?
Oh no. See, so what happens is
And then we can't save that money.
no. So this isn't about how much we're going to save. I'm talking about how much more revenue we're going to make.
Okay.
So we'll make more revenue. if
more revenue.
yeah, exactly. And you know what?
I think you're mixing with your.
I did think about this, and if we do end up halving the team instead, we're only going to save about $1 million a year. But if instead we keep the same team and have more features and fix more bugs, we're going to increase our revenue just in the first year for $5 million. Well, yeah, and you know that bug, the bug everyone complains about, right? Because the most common bet amount, when everyone goes in, the first bet they bet is $69 and it crashes straight away, right? We'll finally be able to fix that.
All right. If you say so.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have more meetings and let's see how that plays out.
Yes. So in addition to the bugs question, so we're gonna introduce kind of like unit testing in the CI build pipeline as well. So it's gonna get a lot less bugs, and we can build a lot more often.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. So I'm just gonna grab my notes here. Interesting. Okay, so it's 8:20. We have until 8:30. So in 10 minutes, we do the retrospective, which will prepare the board. In the meantime, it would be great if we can do a mini fishbowl here. So how does it work in a fishbowl is we've got 5 chairs here. Anyone can sit on those chairs and talk about something about their scenario, about something they learned. And there's always one chair empty, so someone can go on that chair, and then whenever someone goes there, someone else has to go up and go to the audience, right? So we always keep the conversation on this area. So does anybody want to come here, and I can start with a question? Anyone? Yeah, I can sit here, and then I can start a question. I can talk a little bit. Wanna come? Come, Eric. Come, Eric. Come over. Come, anyone, just come. And I'll ask a question to kick off. Let's come. All right, so we've got 3, 4.
One more.
No. The one stays. You hear? One stays empty. So whoever wanna join the conversation can just sit here, and somebody has to go. All right. So yeah. So the question I have to the bowl here to us is. So, what was the most valuable question that you asked me, if you asked me, and how did it change the outcome for your group? So, did you ask questions to me?
Yeah, we asked about details, and it means what, how much information do you need on which level? Like, for example, should we provide kind of tips for the development team, or you don't need such a level of details, you only need a kind of draft outline for the company. So thanks to this, we could save some time and focus on the main milestone and prepare all of them, because also we are running out of time, and there was a risk that we won't able to finish all of the milestones we prepared. So it was better to have a general overview, finish all the milestones, rather than having one milestone with a lot of information and details.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. It's interesting that I build the scenarios that are very, very different to each other, and I want to know, like, what do you think about the scenarios? I mean, about your scenario, do you think that if you had more time, you would do something different?
I would say because we did exactly ask the same question as the other team, because of we kind of need some clarification about our scenario. For example, how deep we need to provide the details of the solution. We don't know if we want to come up with like a very broad solution or a very detailed solution. And
I'll keep you guys talking. I'll just finish the.
Yes, so that so if we know more, it means we can provide you like a better solution, or like a more suitable solution for the scenario. So that's kind of the more question we ask, the better answer we can give. I would say that. Yeah.
So ours was quite open ended. So in that respect, I think the moon travel, I've already forgot my client's name. It sounded like they were almost starting from zero. So it's like having that kind of frame on it. It's like, how long have we got? How how big is growth, and is growth 2 people, is it 100 people? Those are 2 very different questions. But I think a lot of the fundamental principles still feel very similar, right? It's like, how can you make changes confidently but also quickly? And I think the metaphor I've used before is like, F1 cars go very fast, but I wouldn't want my toddler behind the wheel. Like, it suddenly becomes a very dangerous thing. But put an F1 driver behind it, and you can see some incredible things happen. It's a very stretched metaphor, like a lot of mine are. So.
The good hint was about the budget. We heard that it was mentioned to provide some estimates, but for example, this is what we couldn't provide because of the time. So if we have more time, then we would provide some rough estimates of the costs.
Sorry, just the board for the retro. Anyone that wants to join the discussion, there's 2 chairs. You can go in. I'll just facilitate from now on. So, I mean, did you learn anything new, or any experience that you didn't have before that? Maybe unrelated to CI/CD or related to CI/CD that you learned on this workshop. And if someone wants to join, you can also come in.
So, if no one wants to jump up, I got a question I think came with a few of the groups. A lot of the teams mentioned having multiple environments, like almost like a staggered get to CI/CD. Like, do you see that as a necessity to accomplish CI/CD, or do you see value in maybe removing some of those steps and moving that a little bit quicker? Or do you feel that you need that environment to get confident in your changes?
You don't always need many environments, but also it depends if you, for example, you can make acceptance tests on the pre-prod, because assuming that dev or the staging is actively used, so you have a lot of new feature deployments which could break your test, and it will be hard to have a stable environment. So something between production and development environment, which is actively developed, might be beneficial. But again, maybe you don't need this because you have only 2 developers. So in that case, you can have 2 environments.
Similar situation for our company as well. So we only got 2 environments, which is the UAT and production. The reason is that we can quickly redeploy or roll back very quickly, and we have a lot of metrics to check on production website if something goes wrong, and we can roll back quickly as well. So it depends on your situation. You might need more environment, for example, because we don't have testers. We only got dev, and then we use the unit testing, and we do our own testing. So we don't need the testing environment for the BAs or for the testers.
If you were to do something different in this exercise, what would you do? That would be another question, and I just want to answer.
Well, I was going to say, to answer the question, you don't need multiple environments to do CI/CD. CI/CD is a tool, and you can use it in various ways. One good way to do it is to separate your environments, because it gives you other benefits. It doesn't make your actual CI/CD better, but if you use it, you get the benefit of fewer. And look, basically, the end benefit of it is fewer problems in production. And in general, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good benefit.
Yeah. And sell it to the bosses and say more revenue.
Less risk.
Yeah, which increases revenue. So what would we do different?
You can sit there, then you can join the conversation, and then someone goes up and goes to the audience.
They're eager to run.
Too slow.
You snooze, you lose.
We already signed the contract, so.
So about having multiple environments, I think it depends on the type of the product that you have. Sometimes you have a website, you have a web service, and when you ship your product, everyone in the world uses it. So in that case, having unit tests would be enough. But if you have a client that you sell your product to company X, you want to make sure that they approve your product. So having a UAT environment would really help. So having multiple environments is useful in that scenario as well.
Yeah, and I think I agree.
You can say.
Yeah, so we won't make you talk. Promise. But yeah, I think I agree with your point there, right? If you're doing like a client services thing, it's like it's all well and good going fast, but if you go fast in the way that the clients, and it's like, I didn't want that. Yeah, so having that
Yes,
acceptance
because,
environment to make them confident.
misunderstandings happen.
Yeah, there's contracts to back in and things like that. So yeah, getting the client comfortable, I think, is a good reason.
I think it depends on how much confidence you have. If you are very confident, you go ahead and do changes. But if you don't have that much confidence level, yeah, you might need to kind of do very carefully testing.
Yes,
along
the confidence, but the requirements changes because sometimes when you show the product to your client, the client says, "Nah, I just don't want this.
Yeah.
I want something else."
Uh.
So, but when it's in production, then backing from there is a bit harder when you have it in the UAT.
Yeah.
It also depends on the criticality of your systems.
Yes.
So, for instance, you're writing stuff for airliners. You can't just be like, yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
We're 99% confident. It's all good.
Life and death, yeah.
All right, so we're finished 8:30. So we managed to have a 10-minute fishbowl, so which is good. I thought we wouldn't have time to do that actually, but it was interesting, right? It's used to fishbowl. It usually takes more time. So now I have this board here with a small retrospective of how the event went. So on the left column, you can see what went well. In the middle, what we can improve. And on the right, we have some notes. So there are some Post-its there, and you can grab them and you can draw something that you believe could be useful to us, what we can improve, or what went well that you want to show in this retrospective. The pens are here. Those are sphere-based pens. And here's the Post-it. All right. And then once you put your stuff here, then you can go home. I would appreciate some feedback so we can improve next time. And with that, we finished. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks.